Hello and welcome back to the show. Today, I'm excited to share a special guest with you. This is someone that I know personally, someone that I work alongside, and someone that I believe should be in front of more people, sharing their experience, their knowledge, their expertise about what they've built in the industry, about what they do in the industry, and some of the lessons they've learned along the way. So this episode goes through 14 years of coaching experience with my guest, Sam Young from Strong for Life. And he talks about the things that he's learned over the years as a coach, considerations when working with different types of coaching clients, how to charge premiums for coaching. He talked about opening his first facility, going into a second facility and what that looks like, talking about membership structures and all those things in between. So it is a fast moving conversation that covers a lot of ground. So sit back and enjoy our conversation with Sam Young. Sam, welcome to the show. How are you doing, mate?
Very well, thank you, Matt. How are you?
I am very good. And for those of you that don't know Sam, which I can imagine not many of you do, I'm going to explain quickly why I brought Sam on today, because Sam is someone that I've had the privilege of working closely with one-to-one and getting to know over sort of the last few months or so. Sam, maybe it stretches a bit longer than that now. The time flies, doesn't it? So I've
Yeah,
got
maybe
to,
six months or so plus, maybe, is it?
yeah. So I've got to know Sam pretty well and understand his business and things like that. And Sam has been in the industry a long time. He's got a real good depth of knowledge around coaching and things like that. But not only that, he's also had one facility that he set up himself. He's then moved into a larger facility and made that transition. He still coaches as well whilst running the gym. So Sam is the type of person that I believe we should be tapping into that fountain of knowledge that he's accumulated along the way. So I wanted to bring him on and unlock some of that and share it with everyone. So no pressure, Sam. Hopefully you can live up to that.
No worries.
To start off with, just give everyone a little bit of an idea as to what your time in the industry has been like, Sam, because like myself, you're a bit of a dinosaur now, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess I am now. What is it, 14 years? So I started at the beginning of 2010. I actually started coaching in 2008. I started coaching football, just to kids. Background in sports science, studied sports science. I've always been into sport really throughout my life. So it was natural that I wanted to do something in sport, physical activity. I just didn't really know what. I just knew that I loved physical activity. I loved sport. I loved exercise. And it wasn't always the plan for me to become a personal trainer or a gym owner. It's something I never really envisaged. It just came to me across my path as I went down the route of exploring different things for me. Yeah. So yeah, with the question, it was how I kind of started off, wasn't it, Matt? And
Well,
how we got started. And
just give us an overview of what those 14 years have looked like, because obviously
yeah,
you've gone through different evolutions, haven't you? Almost in that time, you've not you've coached all the way through, but obviously you've done different things along the way. Give us a bit of an idea of that
yeah,
timeline.
yeah. So right at the very beginning, I started at David Lloyd. I was level 2 gym instructor. They actually paid for my level 3. As part of, I did hours for them. Essentially, I didn't get paid, but they paid for my qualifications, which I was unemployed at the time. I spent quite long periods unemployed, just doing voluntary work, doing little bits of coaching work where I could. So I snapped up the opportunity, had a membership at David Lloyd. Again, loved physical activity. So, enjoyed the facilities, playing tennis, using the gym. And really, when I qualified level 3, I was a beginner to using the gym myself, essentially, just learning things, a bit afraid really to make mistakes in the gym, but I think one of the things that I've acknowledged and embraced over the years is to become a learning coach. We're always learning no matter how old you are and how many years you've been in the industry. So it's just been a process over those 14 years of just accumulating knowledge, improving my experience. I went to David Lloyd for 9 years in the end, which is maybe a little bit longer than I'd anticipated. I wanted to move away and set up my own premises, but that took quite a few years before that came to fruition. So I had to be very patient. I did go through some periods where it was quite frustrating. I wanted to move away from that side of things. But yeah, accumulated quite a lot of experience, seeing the industry change over those 9 years and into 4 years now. since then as well, running my own premises, few premises.
And what for you, Sam? What was the reason you wanted to get away from that sort of commercial setup? Because I do know that that's something a lot of PTs go through and coaches at some point, don't they? It's a great way to start in many ways in terms of exposure and experience, but it is something that often people do want to step away from, whether it be opening a facility or going online or combination of the above. Like, what was it for you
Mm.
that sort of made you want to go down that route?
Well, we had actually quite a good deal with David Lloyd. So I know they've changed the model completely now. So they're employed. I don't think they're paid what they're valued. But back then we were self-employed. They had a self-employed model. So it was 10 hours a week for David Lloyd, where they asked us to do gym floor hours, gym inductions. At the beginning, we were doing all sorts, cleaning, pretty much any task that they asked us to do. So they were asking us to do a lot of different tasks, pool reads, you name it, everything really. Like they just wanted to milk us for the 10 hours because they didn't have to pay us really, to take those tasks away from other members of paid staff. So um, yeah, just going down that route from there. The reason why I wanted to move eventually, although it was a great deal financially, we could charge what we wanted to. We were restricted to David Lloyd members, and it being probably the most expensive gym in the area, if not the most expensive, it ruled out a certain amount of potential clients. So I had a lot of inquiries, especially people that wanted to do Olympic weightlifting coaching with me that they didn't care about joining a gym. They didn't want to join a gym for all of the nice facilities and things like that. They just wanted coaching. They were serious about wanting to learn how to lift weights properly, but they didn't want to spend however much it was on a gym membership that they didn't really want to use. So I actually started coaching people from my garage, which had its limitations. I had people in there, above 6 foot. They were hitting the ceiling when they were lifting weights overhead. So it wasn't ideal. So I had enough inquiries where it was like, yeah, we're getting a decent amount of inquiries now where they didn't want to join David Lloyd, but they wanted coaching. So I had to look at premises. So I looked at small premises from that point. And I think also just the environment at commercial gyms, it's not always suited to all types of people. It was I think I was in it at that moment in time. I was in it and I was doing the peak hours. It was very loud, loads of people around, minimal space to maneuver. Had to be quite smart in terms of programming
Yep.
and anticipating the equipment that was available, which was very minimal on some evenings. I mean, for the industry, it's phenomenal. Lots of people using the gym, but in terms of delivering coaching sessions, it was very challenging to do that. So to have my own space would have been ideal. I always dreamed about having my own space just to be able to control the environment, control the culture and the community a lot more.
Yeah. And you mentioned there about that sort of, you went down the route of like Olympic weightlifting coaching. And one
Hmm.
of the things that I think you do really well in your business is you've reached a point where you command what most would consider like high fees for your coaching and your like experience. How did you end up going down that weightlifting coaching route, and how did you sort of create that demand? Because it sounds like that demand was coming externally, not necessarily from people that saw you in the gym. So talk to us about like how you got into that, how the demand came about.
Well, Olympic weightlifting was something that I did myself just for my own personal development, not necessarily I didn't start it to coach people weightlifting. I went into it for myself because I wanted to challenge myself. I've always been into sport, always competed in sport, went through a period of not competing in the sport, kind of feeling a little bit lost, lost my passion for other sports that I used to play, like football. And then I discovered weightlifting, wanted to learn the techniques, and then got into competing in weightlifting myself, and just developed a passion for Olympic weightlifting training and competing in weightlifting as well, doing quite well in the sport. And that just got the attention of other people that were wanting to start weightlifting. And with CrossFit was one of the things that was blowing up at the time as well. That was expanding in popularity, so more people were getting involved in it. But because it's highly technical, I did get quite a few people reaching out for help on Olympic weightlifting technique.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of came in really. And it wasn't really it's weird. It wasn't really a goal of mine of, yeah, I'm going to learn weightlifting so I can coach it to people. It was just my own thing, but it just seemed to explode in popularity at that time. And then because, I was seen to be, a good lifter, and I'd learned how to do it myself, learned how to do it properly. Um, that's where it was mainly through Google and through the British weightlifting site as well. So they were the two real areas where people found me. I didn't necessarily promote myself. I was just posting videos of myself lifting. I wasn't doing any marketing or anything like that. It was very much just posting my own lifts, my own training, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we were affiliated as a weightlifting club when we opened the first premises in 2019. And that helped actually through British Weightlifting. So we pay them an affiliation fee, a membership fee. But they put us on their website. So we actually get a few people going on there and trying to find weightlifting clubs. So they found us through that. And also through Google as well. Putting on there that we're a weightlifting facility, Olympic weightlifting focused.
Yeah.
That's how quite a lot of people found us, even though I wasn't really promoting myself externally from David Lloyd, because obviously it was a bit of a challenge to try and train people outside of there at that time. So yeah, it just kind of naturally came to us that we had those inquiries.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. That's a great little story. And it's always funny to hear how people have had to be creative to get started. They want to sort of change direction and stuff. There's always plenty of good stories about those scenarios. And I know I'm probably skipping some of sort of the in-between bit in terms of, the 9 years experience and weightlifting and that. But like when we look at what you do now, Sam, and some of the coaching that you do, I know that our audience would be really interested to know, what does a coaching service look like when it's done by someone like you? Okay. So what does that entail? What does it include? What sort of level of detail do you go into? And that's not to say that people have to go away and, you know, mirror image what Sam's doing. Sam's obviously been around a long time and honed this skill set over a long period of time. But I do think there is a bit of a shift now in that people think they can go out there and charge a lot as a coach without really delivering much more than just a calorie deficit and a training plan. So I want to try and give a realistic example of what I consider a top coaching service to look like if you peel it back and look at some of the bits that are in there. So are you okay to share with us some of the things that you do with your clients, Sam, and give us a bit of an insight into?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think first of all, it's important to mention that I don't purely work with people that do Olympic weightlifting. I think that's become a little bit more of a, I wouldn't say minority, but we do have people doing Olympic weightlifting training with us. We've got a group session, we do courses, workshops, have clients that I work with one-to-one as well that do Olympic weightlifting. But the majority of the clients that I work with are, general population, weight loss, health and fitness. They're busy professional people. They don't necessarily want to learn Olympic weightlifting. They just want to be fitter and healthier, build confidence. So they're more of a general population client. I think that's important to mention before going to what's involved as well, because it's relevant to what we deliver with people. Yeah. And I think as well, the reason for that, just to go into that I don't just focus on the Olympic weightlifting side, is because it is such a niche sport. It's highly technical. So people that really want to learn the sport are really invested. But we do get a lot of people that come in, they realize how difficult it is and how much time and effort, mobility, there's a lot of work involved in it. You can't just kind of come in and start seeing the results as you would if your goal was weight loss, for example, straight away you'd start to see the results. It takes a lot longer. So I think it's important to distinguish. So we do have the weightlifting side of it, the Olympic weightlifting side of coaching. And then we have the other side as well, which is mainly working with busy professional people that want to be fitter, stronger. The majority are, weight loss, looking better, having more confidence, more energy, productivity, and things like that. So looking at what we deliver. So just to kind of go through the journey that a client would go through with us, they would contact us, and then we set up a call, a little bit like this, or a meeting in person in our facility. And we chat through their goals. We go through a plan as well, what we feel would be the best route forwards for them. If it's one-to-one coaching, again, it's not just me telling them what to do. I uncover what their goals are, what they really want to get out of it. And it's led by them essentially, which I think is really important to get that buy-in from the client. And they decide to come on board. We set out a plan. It becomes very clear as to what their goals are. We set the plan out, say if they come on board. We do an in-depth movement assessment with them first and foremost as well. So we're not just coming in. They're not just coming in and doing a cookie cutter training program. We don't really know how they move. So we're just giving them a copy and paste plan. It's very much We look at multiple factors. So we look at their mobility levels, strengths and weaknesses, what their specific goals are, also what equipment they've got access to. So some people come to us, they train at other gyms, and they've got access to specific equipment. And I've got quite a good knowledge of, in our local area in particular, the different gyms, trained at the majority of the different gyms we've got in the area. So I'm quite familiar with the equipment that they've got access to and what would be beneficial to the individual. If not, we've got people working remotely as well. So I asked them to send videos across, photos and videos of the equipment so that we're aware of the kit that they've got access to, the space they've got access to, etc. And then we put a plan together based on their needs as well. It's looking at what they're wanting to do and what they can commit to, and not me telling them, you need to be training 5 times per week because that's going to get you maximum results. We're dealing with very busy people sometimes, with families, full-time jobs, a lot of demands and a lot of stress. So sometimes it might just be starting off with 1 to 2 sessions per week. And then we get them in the gym as well. And it's not just a case of, I think this is the key point as well, and it's something that I've changed my mentality on over the years as well. It's not just a case of them paying for a session and thinking, this is what I'm paying for and this is what it works out per hour. And come in, do the session, speak to you, see you next week kind of thing. It's all of the work in between the onboarding that we do, checking in with clients, providing video feedback, quite often sending Loom videos as well. So it's a screen recording going through, check-in forms, making sure people are moving forwards to where they want to be. Because essentially the coaching session, if someone's doing, even if they're doing 2 sessions a week, it's less than 1% of their entire week. So it's what are they actually doing in the 99% of the time outside of the training? The lifestyle, nutrition elements, are these factors aligned with where they want to be? Quite often it's not the case, and we've got to start implementing behavior change, agreeing on habit changes and things like that. So it's an all-round thing. It's not, I think the mentality is you can look at it as a PT of what your hourly rate is, but actually you're there to provide that support. Quite often I'm messaging clients during the week, answering text messages and sending Loom feedback and things like that. So it's not really looking at it from the point of view of what you're earning per hour. It's for the all-round service and actually achieving the result and moving forwards with the client.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that some people might hear all that and think, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. But what that then means is that if you can package it like Sam has and sort of make sure that you communicate that in the right way, you can command a much higher fee for your service, which then means that, yes, it might seem like a lot of work, but you don't need like 25, 30 clients. You can run a really solid business in this case with a smaller client set if need be. If that gives you the flexibility elsewhere to do other things, like Sam is a gym owner and he runs workshops and stuff as well. So there's that side of it as well. It's not just looking at it and going, God, that's a lot of work. It's like, well, yeah, it is, but guess what? If you want to charge big money, you've got to put the effort in. But also that then means that, yeah, it's a lot of work, but sometimes that work is far easier to do for 10 people than doing half that amount of work for double the amount of people, because it's more people to chase up, it's more checking forms to check, it's more nutrition screenings and things to do. So I'm not saying that this is the answer for everyone, but I do think it's an option that's often overlooked. Usually it's too much emphasis on as many clients as possible. And one of the things I admire about your business, Sam, is that that's not the case at all. It's almost like the quality of the clients and then the quality of the service. That's what dictates the decisions that you make. Like, is that a fair assessment of how you look at it? Because that's how it seems like looking from the
Yeah.
outside in.
Yes, I've been there as well when I started off in those early days as a PT at David Lloyd. The goal was to get as many clients as possible on board. And I did get to a point where I was doing 50 hours of coaching a week, on the gym floor. But the service level, again, if you're doing 50 hours of actual PT sessions, your energy levels and the amount of time you've got to actually deliver that care outside of the sessions isn't going to be there. So it was just a case of trying to do deals. I was getting people asking me to do deals like, if I buy this amount of sessions up front, can we reduce the price down? And it just got to a point where it became overwhelming, and you attracted a certain client as well. They wouldn't pay on time, or you're chasing payments, or they just weren't, acknowledging the advice that you were giving them and things like that. They weren't taking things on board. Whereas when you increase your fees, you attract a certain level of client. They're going to be, because they're investing more in it financially for themselves, they're more serious about achieving the results and they're wanting to work with you as well. So I don't mind, if I've got a client that's messaging me throughout the week and they're invested in it, I enjoy that myself as well. I feel like I gain energy from working with these people. Whereas when you're working with a client that's just not answering messages, or, you're chasing payments with them, things like that, I found that drains your energy even more, even though they're not engaging with you. So I think it's quite important to look at that. And yeah, it can be overwhelming. I think once you get to a certain number of clients, it's not possible. That's the thing as an individual, isn't it? You've got to look at other ways of doing it. Um, so that's the way I look at it, I think, for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like that you mentioned there about the difference between the clients that engage and those that don't. 'Cause I think again, often it can seem like if someone's going to be contacting me loads, that's taking a lot from me. But like you say, if that's a client that's
Mm,
engaged in the process, then it actually adds to your energy, I think, and your enthusiasm for it because they're taking it seriously. I actually like it when a client asks questions and wants to know why we're doing it this way, why we're doing it that way.
yeah,
Why did you take that out? And it shows that they're paying attention, they're taking notice of what's going on, and they're learning along the way. And it's not too dissimilar with how you and I work, Sam. If I was dropping you messages and you didn't get back to me, it'd be a bit like, does Sam care? But you
yeah,
actually
yeah,
you're more encouraged by those that send you the detailed responses, that expect a higher standard of you as a coach. It makes you better as a person. It pushes you to keep going. So again, I think what you've shared there hopefully is a bit of a light bulb for some people, and they might be able to look at their own client base at the minute and look at, who are the people that are fitting that sort of standard that Sam's talking about there, and who are maybe the ones that are actually pulling all my energy away, and how can I maybe attract more of those ones that are like the ones that Sam described, the ones that you want to be working with, because they're the ones that then go on to refer you more business as well, aren't they, Sam? They pull in more people like them.
yes, they do, yeah. And I think when you're working with a client that doesn't, they just want to turn up every week and expect results, um, they just, yeah, they tend to be the ones that cancel sessions as well. I've had that before in the past, going back in the earlier days. A lot more people canceling, not really valuing the service, because they're not paying you as much. They're not valuing the service. They find it easy to cancel. And then if they're not engaging with it and they're not achieving results, then the chances are you're going to lose them as a client anyway. So,
Yeah,
um, which means that creates more work, in terms of you having to build, you're having to build your client base up and you're having to attract more clients in and sell more PT from that point. Whereas, you can create a more stable client base. I've got a couple of clients I've worked with since almost when like a year into starting to 2011, and they're still training with me as well. And they've achieved the benefits and as well. They've reaped life changing benefits from it because they've been investing in the long term. So, and from a business standpoint, from my standpoint, these are the people that are the lifeblood of the business. Really, they're the ones that keep the business going. They've enabled me to open multiple premises and build the business and grow the business and things. So yeah, it's really important. I think the people that you attract, not just getting as many numbers in as possible. I think the quality of the client that you attract, I think is really important.
yeah, yeah. I think something that might be worth touching on here, Sam, just to get your opinion on this as well, because having worked with a lot of coaches one to one, and I know this is like an ongoing thing that sometimes coaches can struggle with. You do get that group of clients as well, don't you, that sort of sit in the middle. So they're maybe not as engaged as these perfect clients, these ideal clients. They're not energy vampires. It's not like they don't respond, and it's not like they take you for granted. But there are often this group of people that are somewhere in the middle that do show up on time, that do pay on time, that are actually quite nice to be around. You can have a laugh with them and stuff like that. But they're never really going to take it that seriously. And they sort of acknowledge that quite early on. They're a bit like, I want to turn
Mm.
up because I know that I should be doing it. I feel better for being here. But no, I'm not going to stop drinking at the weekend. I'm not going to stop ordering pizza. And I say I want weight loss, but really I know I don't. And like, how do you think or feel about those kind of clients? Because I know that coaches can struggle with that client. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
often take the stance of it's all about setting expectations and making sure they're aware of what their decisions are going to lead to in terms of a lack of results, in terms of
Mm.
maybe physical change, but there'll still be other results. Like how have you handled those clients? Because I do think that's a big struggle for some trainers. Because like this person's not
Mm.
not, not a knobhead. which almost makes it harder. If they were, I'd just fire them.
Yeah. 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 It's an interesting one. It's quite a nuanced subject, actually, because I think coming from a competitive sport background, and I think for other PTs that come from a sporting background where they've competed and they're highly driven to achieve results, it can be difficult to have the empathy with a client that's never trained before. They've not done any physical activity. They might be coming to it at 40 or 50 years old. They've
Yeah.
not done anything since they left school. This is quite common, actually. So it's hard to put yourself in these clients' shoes. So to that individual client, just coming into the gym once a week and moving around, and maybe making one or two small lifestyle habits. Yeah, there might still be, they might not lose weight, for example, but you actually might be the difference between them going down a path of actually gaining weight and, going down that negative route from there. You might actually be helping them to maintain the current level of health and fitness. So yes, we might not be changing them, making life changing results with them, achieving these incredible body transformations with these clients. But I think if they're consistent and they're coming in, and even if they're just doing a small amount of what you're advising them to, if they're doing it consistently over a period of months and years, it can actually have, I think it's easy to forget sometimes, like a small lifestyle change to someone who's never trained before, never done any exercise for years or even decades. Just them coming into the gym once per week and actually making one or two habit changes, just gradual changes over time. I've got clients that I do have one or two clients like that, but when you actually look at their lifestyle, um, if they didn't come into the gym and exercise, sometimes you've got to wonder like where they would be at this moment in time. So yes, they might not have lost a ton of weight, for example, but they're maintaining that healthier lifestyle. They've made one or two changes to the nutrition. They're doing more steps. They're getting 7,000 steps a day now, whereas before they'd be sat in the chair all day. Things like this actually are having an impact where you don't really realize it, I think, because I think with Instagram, social media, it's all about that dramatic physical transformation, I think, that sells personal training. But these are the things actually I think that don't get given enough credit when it comes to achieving results with clients.
Yeah. And like you sort of said there, even just stopping that momentum in the wrong direction, because most people that come to you are in a sort of a direction of momentum that means that, yeah, they might be overweight, but actually they're still gaining weight. It's not just that they're overweight and they're staying
Mm,
at the same level. Like they've probably gained 2 pounds a year for the last 10 years and they're on that momentum in the wrong direction. It's still heading that way. And just those interventions that you manage to get them to do, even if it does nothing more than stall that momentum and actually get
mhm.
them to stay where they are, so that
Yeah.
actually this year they don't gain the 2 pounds and they just stay at that steady weight, but now they're moving more and things like this. Like you say, you can't really calculate or really get any sort of inclination as to how big an impact that's having. Because if the person didn't
Mm,
that intervention, they're going to carry on down that path and it'll probably compound over time as well. It'll probably get worse, won't it? It's not going to stay at 2 pounds a year and, no major health issues. It'll probably add up a
mm,
bit more and lead to major health issues. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I do know it's something that coaches can almost beat themselves up for when they've got
mm.
clients like that. It's
Yeah.
almost like I've not motivated them enough. I've not inspired them enough. But I don't think that's always the right way to look at it.
Yeah. I used to think like that. And I think if, yeah, you have come from that competitive background yourself, you're a driven individual. It is hard to empathize sometimes with people that are happy just to come in and improve their health and just tick along. And yeah, I think it's hard, isn't it? It's what is a result to the individual. Like for a PT, I think we can put results on a pedestal of dramatic lifestyle transformation, body transformation that looks incredible on Instagram. But it's not always a black or white. This is success. This isn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't really understand the impact that we're having on people's lives. It's quite important. Sometimes we don't really even know as well. Like if you're working with a client long term, if they've got health issues that you've been working on, you've been working on them with, um, the struggle with the weight, they've been gaining weight. Like you said, they might be gaining weight every year, and all of a sudden you've come in and they might not be losing weight, but they've stopped gaining weight, and actually they've improved the health, the fitness has improved, the confidence has improved. They're able to be more mobile. They're able to do things, slow the rate of aging in that respect. In terms of a functional capacity, as well, they're able to do things and enjoy their lives more. these are the things I think we need to pay attention to, because these are the things actually that are important to people. And it's for the client as well, isn't it? It's the client. Are they happy with the results? And how they're feeling as well. It's not, you've not achieved an incredible weight loss transformation. You've not achieved any results. It's actually acknowledging the results. At the same time, you do get people that do want to have these results. So if you're not achieving those results with them, the weight loss side of things, the transformation side of things, then obviously that's something to address as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then just to sort of finish off on the coaching side of things, because I do want to get on to talking about the gyms as well. I know another thing that a lot of PTs struggle with or would like to hear your input on is, it's clear from your explanation of coaching that it is about more than just what happens in the session. There's lots of stuff that goes on outside of that. What's your approach to actually giving people the skills required? So how do you go about teaching people about nutrition and things like that? What things do you rely on to sort of provide that information to people? How do you tend to deliver that? How much of that do you take care of when you're with the client versus maybe when they're on their own, going through some material in their own time? Like, just give us an idea of what that looks like for you. Because again, I think it's something that people struggle with in terms of they either give the client too much or they go the other way and just don't give them anything at all and sort of wait to be asked.
It's a fine balance, actually. I've had, again, through experience, I think you can be very keen, especially if you're a results driven PT, you come from that background where you want to achieve the best results possible. You have high levels of standards for yourself. You can give clients too much. And I've done that before in the past, and I've lost clients because I've overwhelmed them, getting them to do too many things at once, and they become overwhelmed because they've not trained in years. They're just getting used to it. They're trying to build confidence gradually. So you can overwhelm the client as well. You could have all the best interests of the client at heart and want to change things and put a lot of effort into changing things, but you can overwhelm clients as well. So it is a case of establishing what their needs are, how the pace that they want to do things at, and also just, I think, drilling in the importance of sustainability, because you can change a million things with a client and they might do well even for a week or two, but it's not going to be sustainable for most people. So I think regular check-in forms are important, just to give that feedback of what's going well, what they're struggling with. Opening up communication, I think, is key, because if you don't have that there, sometimes there might be an issue and the client might not want to bring it up with you. So I think it's important to ask through check-in forms and asking in person.
Yep.
I'll come off a call actually with a client just before this podcast, just discussing things outside of the gym. So busy professional, a busy person running around, they've got kids, they're trying to do this and that, tons of plates they're trying to spin. So it's just trying to acknowledge the issues that they're facing as well, why that it can impact their health and fitness goals as well. So it's trying to deal with that. So there's a lot of different things that we've got to address. A lot of it is stress management for people, but then also it's bringing it back in and making it relevant. Obviously, we're not counselors, we're not therapists, but I think it's important maybe to have a basic understanding of that. Obviously, we've got to refer out when there is a serious issue, but I think it's important to acknowledge the issues that people have and how that can impact their health and fitness and why they might be struggling to achieve the goals. So, for example, if someone's really busy, they're struggling, they're stressed, it's actually communicating with the client the importance of getting a training session in, movement, how important that is to deal with the stress response for long-term health and fitness, not just for the weight loss goals, actually to help them to relax. Just some mindfulness stuff as well. Again, it's not going deep into counseling people, just taking a breath, relaxing, bringing that parasympathetic nervous system back in.
Yep.
And allowing them to make clear decisions and healthier decisions as well when it comes to the nutrition and understanding themselves. There's a lot of factors to look at. So it is quite complex, but it's trying to look at what the key areas that the client is struggling with. If they're stressed, they're struggling to make time to exercise and prioritize the nutrition. It's actually trying to look at the root causes of that as well and trying to address it and then align it with their goals again, bring it back in. Why are the goals important to you? And then we can kind of come up with a plan together, not just me dictating, you need to be doing this, need to be doing that. Is it possible for you to do this one small habit change? Are you able to do it? Do you think you can do it? And that's really important to get them on board and not overwhelm them too much. Coming back to that, you can overwhelm clients with too much information. 1, 2, or 3 small habit changes maybe at a time, maybe just starting off with one small thing.
Yeah. Good.
Can be beneficial.
And it's almost like giving them permission as well, I suppose, when they are busy and stuff. It's almost like giving them permission to say, you you can still prioritize training. You probably should. I'm giving you permission to prioritize it. I know you've got a lot of work on. The work will still be there when you get back. It's like, but
Yeah.
the missed training session won't be there, and you'll miss it again and again. It's almost like just being that extra person that's almost giving them permission to take the time to go and look after themselves. Because I think it's usually more that, isn't it? It's not that they don't value the training session, it's that they don't prioritize looking after them. Like the work or the family or whatever it is more important than me. So by saying yes to the
Yeah.
workout, I'm saying no to those other things. And it's just obviously trying to reframe that a little bit and take them down a different path. Um, I want us to have a little chat about running gyms, Sam, because I know you could probably, fill a 4-hour episode on this, because it's something that is nowhere near as easy as anyone would think it is or like it to be. Um, but you've been running facilities now for a couple of years. You started small and then moved to something slightly bigger. And that's now like well established and really, really good setup there. Just run us through what that journey's been like, going from being sort of someone that just focuses on coaching versus someone that then goes and becomes more of a business owner and a facility owner. What's that transition been like for you?
It's a big identity shift. And I think I didn't really prepare myself for that. And trying to figure out, what the priority is, gym owner, coach, you're a bit of both. Um, but I think for a PT, if you're a PT and you're listening to this and you may be working in a commercial gym, um, and you're looking to potentially open up your own PT studio or gym, it's important to consider quite a few factors. I think first of all, patience is key. It took me 2 years actually to find a premises. So I was ready to move, ready to go. I was getting lots of inquiries for coaching, as I mentioned earlier, weightlifting coaching inquires people ready to start coaching, but didn't want to join the commercial gym. They didn't want all the expenses of that. They just wanted to pay for the coaching. So I think it's important to have a reason why you want to do that if you do want to move into a gym. You've got to do detailed costings as well, cost benefit analysis. You've got to look at all of these different things. These are all things that I found hard to do myself, but they're absolutely essential to look at. I think your tolerance for risk as well and stress has got to be quite high as well if you're going to open up a facility, even if it's a small premises. It's funny, we opened in 2019 and then within a year we were locked down for, what was it, 8 months in total, I think, over the 3 lockdowns.
Yeah.
So your tolerance for things like this can happen, like, what you're going to do. So these are the things. Obviously the rent had to be paid. That was one of the scariest moments, that first month, that April 2020, the rent went out. It's like, right, I've had however many coaching clients stop now. So I've not got that income. I've not got as much income. How am I going to cover this? So your tolerance for things like this has got to be quite high. So if you're a PT working in a gym and you're listening to this and you're thinking about opening a facility, I think, yeah, that's maybe a once in a lifetime thing, but there are lots of different problems and things like that can come with running a premises. But I think the vision and the benefits have obviously got to outweigh these potential problems. So you've got to have a vision as well. So for me, I remember thinking during COVID as well, because we actually grew the business working from home, coaching people online. I had a lot of people that wanted to keep fit and healthy whilst the gyms were closed. We learned our equipment out of the gym. We had our clients training from home in the different setups. So yeah, it's having that vision. I think it's really important as well as to the long term, because I remember thinking this is good financially, even though we're in lockdowns, doing well, actually keeping the business going, actually growing it. But mentally, I struggle with just being sat in front of a computer all day. That's not for everyone. So I think having that self-awareness, you're going to go down the online coaching side, or do you want to open a premises, or you're going to continue working at a commercial gym? I think it's having that self-awareness as an individual, isn't it? What would you be more suited towards? So for me, I knew that yes, financially, probably could keep going with the online coaching and do well. Minimal overheads, we could choose not to renew the lease and just work from home, not have all of the overheads and the stress and everything else. But I knew mentally it wasn't going to be sustainable for me, because I really struggled just being in front of a screen. I need to see people in person. I like to coach people in person. And the vision for me was to develop that community element, bring people together, people that were growth minded, people that were on the same page, struggle with similar things, but are taking action towards achieving their goals. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that something we've discussed over the time we've worked together, Sam, is like decisions that you need to make, ideally before you start, but even once you've started, around what the gym model actually is. I know that you've gone through a bit of a transition with that in terms of like pricing of memberships and things like that, and what you want to position the gym as in the local area. Like, how important do you think it is to sort of make decisions on that before you start? Because obviously there are different ways you can do it. Your gym is a gym where you can buy a membership and just go and use the facility whenever you want, can't you? Members can come and go as they please. It's not a gym where you
Mhm.
have to have coaching, but it's there if you want it. Other gyms have gone down different routes where coaching's part of the model, and so how important do you think it is to sort of make clear decisions on like what the gym is and who it's for, and maybe how do you go about thinking of those things?
Yeah, I think it's critical, really. You've got to have a vision as to what things are going to look like, how it's going to work. Um, I would probably look at, if you're a personal trainer and you're just coaching people, if you're going to open a premises, I think opening a gym is a completely different thing altogether to doing that, having members coming in where you're not coaching them. That opens up a lot of other potential problems as well and issues. And you're competing against, now we've got budget gyms as well. So that's, people are going to choose a budget gym if they're only coming in just to use the facilities. It's very difficult to compete on price when you've got the overheads that you've got as an individual to try and cover that. So I would recommend looking at it from a coaching point of view as well. If you're already a coach, you're coaching people as a personal trainer, opening maybe a personal training studio and just keeping it even just exclusively for clients, maybe hiring it out to other personal trainers. Um, you can open it. To be honest, that was one of the plans when I started working with you, Matt. It was to develop the gym membership side of it, but obviously that comes with a lot more headaches and problems as well. When you're already coaching, if you've got, your bread and butter is coaching, the majority of your income is coming from the personal training side, the coaching side. When you add into the mix running a gym, that can be quite overwhelming as well. So unless you've got other people to do that side for you, it can be quite challenging, quite frustrating. So not that it's a bad thing. I think you can do that, but I think you've got to be aware of when you're opening a gym facility and you're just wanting it to be the main part of the business is the gym, and gym members providing most of the income. It's You're competing against people, gyms, like your David Lloyd's, your big facilities, even your budget gyms as well. You're going directly against these guys that have got a lot more financial resources in terms of equipment. So it's very difficult in that respect. But I think as a personal trainer, I would advise looking at it from a coaching point of view and looking at developing a coaching studio, if you like, rather than an actual members gym. And then you can have the system set up to provide access to your clients or those that are maybe experienced lifters that have worked with you in the past, maybe, or other people that are really serious about training in a facility that's more your kind of culture and environment. You can allow them access to use the facilities also and have that as a little bit of a side business, if you like, to the coaching side.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably what I would maybe recommend because we've had to kind of change it a little bit. That was the plan, wasn't it, Matt? When I started working with you, we were looking at that. How can we grow the gym membership side?
Yeah.
Yeah, which we did to a point, but yeah, it comes with a lot of headaches as well.
Yeah. And it's understanding what role you want to play within the business, because going down that route is fine, but you are then more of like a facility manager, unless you're going to go and
Mhm.
hire a facility manager and pay them that sort of salary. You're filling that role in the interim until you can reach that level. And we had conversations about that, didn't we? And it was very clear to me that you wanted to be a coach, like you want to coach people, and you were happy to still earn money as that main source of revenue. So our main aims now, isn't it, is to make sure that okay, the coaching is there and that's your own main personal source of revenue, but then the gym also has to function as a business in and of itself. I think sometimes I've come across coaches that use their coaching revenue to hide the fact that the gym is failing, and it's the coaching revenue that's filling those gaps that exist within the gym in terms of the model and the pricing and all of that sort of stuff. So it's just making sure that if you still want your main income to be coaching, but you're now doing it in a private facility that's custom built for what you want to do and it's quiet and you've got control over everything, that's fine. but make sure that the facility is still viable in and of itself. That's the way I think you should approach it. Otherwise, all you've done is taken your PT business and moved it somewhere that now charges 10 times the rent. And that's the reality of it. You know, you think 500 quid a month's expensive to pay, you know, to your commercial gym or whatever. Try doing it from your own facility. Because there's always something that's going to need covering. So yeah, I think it's about making those decisions, isn't it? And not being afraid to sort of say, I still just want to coach. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But if you want control over the environment and what the experience is like, great, go and build something. If you want to be more of a bigger gym, excellent. Understand your role's going to be a bit different. And as you've done, Sam, you can actually change those decisions as you go, can't you? It's probably better if you know at
Mm.
the time, but you can make these subtle changes and change
Yeah.
direction a bit.
You never know until you start. So sometimes you've just got to start, go with your gut, plan things out as best you can with the costings. If you're going to do it, try and come up with a vision for what you actually want as well. Overall, the vision of the community, the culture of the gym as well, I think is really important. That's something to consider. I think the costs of setting up the premises can put people off as well. That's one of the things that I think most PTs probably wouldn't do it because of the costs involved, but it's a long-term thing, really. You've got to look at it from, in terms of your whole life, really. And in the long term, for years and decades to come, having your own premises, I think it's one of those things rather than this is going to cost me this to set this up. It's a massive outlay. And then with the recurring costs as well, it can overwhelm PTs. But yeah, so you've got to have a plan. You've got to sometimes be patient with it, build things up, have a plan financially, and then build it up from there.
Yeah, yeah. Last thing I want us to sort of discuss on the gym front, Sam, before we finish off is obviously you're running like an independent facility. It's sort of like custom built based on your vision and things like that. Like, how important do you think these types of facilities are now? Because they are becoming more common, aren't they? Which I think is a good thing. Um, it's not just your commercial gyms anymore. There are more of these types of facilities, and not just low budget facilities either. Like, although these facilities are often much smaller, they're very, very good quality and the standards are excellent in there, like I know yours is. How important do you think these types of facilities are now? Like, what do you think the future is for these types of setups and where the industry might be going on that front?
I think they're really important because a lot of people, when they join a gym, I mean, like you look at your big gym chains, they've got thousands of members essentially, but only a very small percentage of those members are regular members. And if you think about someone, if they're going into the gym for the first time, maybe even first time ever, or first time in a long time, it takes a lot of confidence to walk onto a busy gym floor. I know for myself, someone who's experienced, I've competed at a decent level in weightlifting and I'm experienced at lifting weights. When it's busy in a commercial gym environment, I don't feel 100% comfortable. I prefer it to be a bit quieter. Just that's my personality, even though I'm experienced. So try and put myself in the shoes of a client or, member coming into the gym. It's not maybe a great place to start when it's overwhelming. There's so many things going on, especially at peak times. So I feel like an independent gym can offer more of a private setting, um, just a better, more respectful environment, I think, as well. Because when you've got thousands of members, you can have most of the members, no problem at all. But you do get people leaving where it's out, being disrespectful, being quite loud and things like that sometimes, which I think can be quite off-putting and intimidating to someone who's new to the gym. So I feel like an independent gym has more control over the environment, over who comes into the gym, about little things like that, gym etiquette rules and things. And you can create more of a supportive environment as well, an environment of learning, a culture where people support each other, everyone's wanting to progress. And I feel like, again, the people you surround yourself with, if you're in that environment where there's maybe a smaller number of members, but people are more on the same page, people are respectful, they're wanting to progress, they're wanting to learn, they're wanting to get involved, you can achieve better results as well, more sustainable results. And it can encourage people to come in and do their own training. So we found that quite a few of our members, they like to train when it's quieter or train on their own, rather than being in a busy environment where it can be quite overwhelming. It comes down to self-awareness as well. I think for me, I actually like training in commercial gyms. I think they're great. I've got memberships at commercial gyms and I enjoy using the facilities. But I do prefer it when it's quieter. But not everyone has the luxury of doing that. I'm self-employed. I can go and train during the middle of the day. Some people they have to train at 6 p.m. And it's you're going into the gym at 6 p.m. in a January or February, it's going to be pretty intense, quite loud, a lot of stuff going on. Whereas I think for an independent, we can control that. We've got capped memberships, capped capacity. So we've got maximum 10 people in the gym at any time. We've got a booking system. People can see how many people are on. So if they want to come in when it's quiet, they can book on when there's not many people around. So it just gives people that different experience. So yeah, we might not be able to compete in terms of the amount of equipment that we've got, but we can control the environment a lot better, I feel. So I think that's one of the benefits that we've got as an independent.
Yeah, yeah, gives you a completely different way of positioning yourself and sort of almost marketing a different set of benefits that aren't just a case of look at all our kit. You know, it's a lot of other things that are a part of it as well.
Mm.
Uh, Sam, this has been a
Yeah,
really
we care as well. I'm sorry, Matt. I was just going to say, like, we care as well. You know, it's because it's smaller. We've got other coaches as well. We've got coaches that are around. We have good communications with people. So, whereas I think in a big gym, you can, as a member, you get lost in that. I think sometimes you feel like you're just a number there.
yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
an important thing to
You can,
discuss.
you can actually exist as a member without ever interacting with anyone these days. You can buy your membership online, you
Mm.
scan using your phone, you never actually speak to anyone. And that might suit you. I go to a commercial gym and I quite like never being spoken to. But again, as a new gym goer, as someone that's a novice and got like zero training age, maybe not the best start. So yeah, I think it's understanding where that fits and where it potentially doesn't. Sam, I feel like we've had some really good insights today and sort of unlocked some of the stuff that you've picked up over the years. It's been really good to hear some of that. And that's coming from someone that knows you. You know, even I found this really interesting to pick out some of these bits. So for anyone that's listening that might want to sort of go and follow you or maybe even come and check out the facility at some point if they're in the area or anything like that, give our audience an idea of where to find you and where you're based and stuff, just so they know how to reach out if they want to.
Yeah, so we're based in Hull, East Yorkshire. Our Instagram is Strong for Life Coach. It's all letters, no numbers. We've got the weightlifting side is Strong for Life Weightlifting, again, all letters. Strongforlife.co.uk. It's a website. You can find out everything that we do on there.
Brilliant. So if you want to know anything more about what Sam does and his setup and things like that, then check him out over there and hope that you've all found that really useful. Cheers for that, Sam.
Cheers, Matt.
I hope you enjoyed our guest interview there with Sam Young from Strong for Life Hull. Sam was very generous in coming on, giving me his time to run through those things and share that knowledge with you. So if you did enjoy the episode, please make sure you give Sam a thanks on social media, tag him in anything. If you sort of took a screenshot of the show or anything like that, tag us in it just so that Sam knows it was useful. And if you haven't done so before, or if you haven't done so recently, please make sure you head over and give the episode a review and a rating. Really helps get the show out there, especially when a new episode goes live. If you loved this particular episode, or if you know Sam personally, if you've someone that's worked with him, go and give this episode a rating and a review, and it helps it reach more people. Until next time, take care of yourself.